Good morning. This is Asher from Conscious Creators. And today in our alignment discussion, we're going to actually be distinguishing the difference between a conscious and creative perspective and a perspective that is fearful and reactive. Now, our perspective is basically just our point of view. It's the way that we're looking at and connecting with our world around us. It's the way that I connect with other people. It's the way that I connect with institutions. It's the way that I see political systems and religious organizations. Everything that I am seeing, I am filtering through what I call the unconscious identity. And the unconscious identity is basically an aggregate of all of our past experiences. It's an accumulation of our experiences, and more importantly, it's the decisions we have made in response to those experiences, and the stories that were born out of those decisions. So there was what happened, and then there was our story about what happened, and our story about what happened turns into an unconscious narrative, an inner dialogue within our mind. And this dialogue can sometimes be so powerful and talk to us in our own voice in such a way that we think that it's a higher power, or it's the truth. We think that it's this organic truth, when really it's just it's actually just kind of this voice of neurosis or psychosis. It's the voice of fear of what if. So this could happen, so be careful of that. Watch out about what that person just said, because they're really whatever. So we have all these stories and all these defensive strategies that we've created throughout our lifetime in order to protect us from protect us. And really, at the end of the day, what we're protecting ourselves from is this one feeling, this one emotion, this one vulnerability that we experienced one time in our life, long time ago, when we were little children, or we're adults. It happens for all of us, but in a moment we experience an emotion that's so uncomfortable for us and makes us feel so weak and so vulnerable that we move forward from that moment with a staunch and final decision that we will never, ever, ever experience that feeling again. And in that moment, we kind of lose part of our humanity. We lose our willingness and our ability to be human, to make mistakes, to feel weak, to ask for help, to let someone know how we feel. And we kind of turn into these machines. And so that we become driven from that moment forward. We become driven by fear to never, ever, ever feel that moment of insecurity or vulnerability again. And once we become driven by fear, our whole life shifts. Our focus, our perspective that we're using to connect to people, places, and things shifts out of this like conscious and creative perspective, this perspective that helps us in an expansive way. So we are continually either expanding or contracting as human beings. And when we have this conscious and creative perspective that's in alignment with whatever you call God consciousness, we're continually looking at things in an expansive way. But once we make this decision to turn away from anything that we can't control, and once we make the decision to avoid any possible potential future threats that could make us feel vulnerable or insecure, like that one moment, our perspective from that point forward is it's contractive. It's more of a protective perspective. It's a perspective similar to that of an animal in the wild that's being hunted by a lion. It's focused completely on its own survival, and it doesn't have any conception of nor need for, like, the need to express love is the need to express love for an animal that's being chased by a lion is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter, because it could die any second. And so for human beings, once they slip into the survival mode and they take on this kind of perspective that's driven by fear and an obsessive need to control, there's no room for love in that perspective. And so if there's no love in the experience that you're creating, then we're going to need to substitute all sorts of other things for it. And that's where the obsessive need to be powerful and rich and dominate and all these other, stockpile weapons, all these other neurosis and psychotic behaviors start to arise out of this decision we made as a 3 or 4-year-old often. So anyway, just wanted to touch with you a little bit, touch on the protective survival perspective and distinguish it from the conscious and creative perspective. That's all I got. Thank you.